I want to expand on an article that I did today. You'll find it up there or down there in the description and everything. I wrote about the Sanders roast by Michelle Wolf at the press dinner the other night. It seems like everybody's jumping on this story, and I've received some input from some people around the country, and a lot of them are trying to split it down the middle of liberal, conservative view, and that's not what it was at all. So I'm going to explain my position a little bit, and it makes a little more common sense if you listen to what I've got to say. I watched Miss Wolf's stand-up, that's all I can call it, the whole thing. I watched it twice. When I watch a comedian, naturally I try to catch the jokes and get a laugh, and everything. But also, I watch how they're doing it, their delivery. Perhaps I'll learn something by how they do their job, the construction of the joke, the exaggerations, all these little things I make a note of. Michelle Wolf is in the wrong business. I mean, I can't say it any other way. If that woman is truly one of the comedy writers out in Hollywood or California, I'm going to pack my suitcase tonight because I'm fixing to be a millionaire. Okay, if that's what they're calling talent, and I'm not running her down. Well, I am running her down a little bit because she's pretending to be something that she's not. When she launched into her roast routine against Sarah Huckabee Sanders, at first I thought, well, this is going to be the good part because nothing else was good. But I thought, well, this is going to be the good part. She's going to make a few jokes about politics and Sarah saying something and a couple of little exaggerations, and Sarah herself will probably chuckle a little during it. Well, that wasn't it at all. It was a vicious, hate-laden attack on a woman who showed up for a dinner in the place of her boss, President Trump. There was no reason to attack Sarah Sanders in that way. That was just completely uncalled for. And I know, I'm going to hear, well, Donald Trump says some rude things, and Donald Trump does this, and well, yeah, he does. He's a little boisterous. I'm going to give you that. He says some things that I probably wouldn't have said. And I say some crap, folks. I mean, I'll be honest with you. But that was no reason to embarrass the press secretary during a dinner. And I mean an unrelentless attack. She went from a small, nothing she said was funny. See, that is the rule of comedy. You have to be funny. And let me ask you something. Let me give you a question. Think of your favorite comedian. Mine happens to be Ron White. Okay, I'm also fond of Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, but Ron White, I like Ron's delivery. He's a Texan, so I catch a lot of his inflections that a lot of people outside of Texas probably don't catch. But with any comedian that you like, you can remember a lot of their jokes, a lot of their punchlines. I can't remember one joke that Michelle made. Okay? I can't remember one punchline that she made. It didn't cement itself in my mind. See, if she had told some truly funny jokes, that would have made it forgivable. If she had framed what she said appropriately, that would have made it fly. Ron White himself. Now, we talk about misogynists. Someone who's a misogynist. Ron White, one of the funniest jokes I've ever heard him tell, was he made a mention that they were going to come up with several $1 million to study the effects of weightlessness on women who are going through PMS and see if it's dangerous. And he says, well, of course it's dangerous because in space, those crazy bitches can fly. The way he framed it, the way he told it, everything. Women were falling out of their chairs laughing in the audience. Okay? That's called being a comedian. Take Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor grew up in a whorehouse. His grandmother was a madam. His mother was one of the girls. Folks, that's a terrible childhood, okay? I mean, just saying. He took his experiences growing up and he turned them into something funny, but he also made several points. Because while you were laughing, just like I just said, you're thinking, that was horrible, for a young man to grow up like that. Eddie Murphy, I think he had lived in kind of a gilded cage on Long Island, but in his last, he did a special on Netflix, and he said something about what I want to see is a bunch of white mothers crying because somebody didn't shut up and everything, which is a horrible thing to say. But Eddie could frame such an caustic statement because he was good. He was good. Michelle Wolf was not good. She was not funny. It was not a roast. It was an attack. It was a hate-filled rant. Okay, and it has nothing to do with being a liberal or a Democrat. I like Ron White because he's a Texan, but surprisingly, people who know me personally know that I like Bill Maher too. I don't agree with a comma the man ever said, but I watch him because I think he's the funniest thing. I mean, he's really funny, you know. And he'll frame his jokes with exaggerations as he attacks President Trump and his administration. And I know that he's talking from a liberal standpoint, but it's just funny. It makes you laugh, you know. It makes you think. Sometimes he'll say something, and while I'm laughing, I'll think, yeah, you know, Trump sure shouldn't have done that. Yeah, that was stupid, you know. That was dumb. So that's what I'm saying. You've got to, you know, when I attacked her, I attacked her professionalism. I attacked the fact that she's not funny. She has an abrasive voice, no posture. She's reading notes. I said in the article, when's the last time you've seen any successful comedian or writer not only reading notes, but stumbling over them like maybe she didn't write them. Maybe they were written for her. And she was trying to make it come off as funny. She had no delivery. I've seen George Carlin make a joke about birds eating rice. So, of course, you can't feed rice to birds anymore because the birds will eat the rice and then they'll go over and drink water and they'll blow up. And he just went. And the whole audience broke out laughing. The mental image of birds blowing up and him saying, I want to do that. It was funny. Of course, George would never blow up birds. It was an exaggeration. That's what makes humor. See, people that don't know humor, think back. Every good joke has a gross exaggeration. Ron White's joke about women flying. George Carlin about birds blowing up and laughing about it. Any good joke has a gross exaggeration. Richard Pryor lived on exaggeration. You know, most of his life stories would include some gross exaggeration, like the crack addict trying to get a job, and he says, the woman in the employment office says, you have a criminal record. And he goes, sure do, bitch. I'm a criminal. Now, you know that never really happened in the employment office, but it's funny. It's funny. And black and white humor, Diamond and Silk, they don't use any bad language, but they capitalize on the Aunt Jemima thing. But what they're saying is topical. And it makes you think. Exaggeration, humor, makes you think. Miss Wolf does not have that. She just doesn't have it, never will. It's just not going to work for her, okay? So, anyway, take that with, oh, and I want, now I'll tell you an exaggeration. I had an incident, I think I mentioned this, but I'm going to hone down on it, because my people have been laughing at me for 48 hours. I had a girlfriend online. Okay? Don't tell anybody, just us here, okay? And she said she was from Arizona. She was born in Mexico City, and immigrated to this country and everything, which is a big plus for me because I love Mexican girls, okay? Well, I sent her a video while we were chatting on Messenger, which I'm not on Messenger anymore, by the way, on Messenger, and it looked like she was trying to send a video back. But when it popped up, and if I'd have framed this and took a picture of this on my own free will, I would have been accused of being the biggest racist in the world. I had the image of a black guy sitting on a stump with a chicken coop behind him, who, when I looked at him and said, well, hey, Kunta, he suddenly realized I could see him. He pushed the wrong button when it says, can Messenger use your camera? access your camera. And he thought he was going to access my camera, which he'd been trying. I've been seeing a green light flash on and on and on. And instead, it accessed his camera, and he was kind of like there, whoo, flat-footed. And he looked, folks, if I could, it happened so fast I couldn't get a screenshot. It was the funniest face you've ever seen in your life. It was a face as black as a bowling ball with two golf balls stuck in the front of it, bugging out, because he was that flabbergasted. Okay. Anyway, that's the story of love. Michelle Wolf is not a funny person. Always remember, like John Brent told me in Nashville, a joke is when you make somebody laugh.
Get your phone out of my face.